Hey everybody, and welcome back to Keeping Your Business on Track. We're here to give you the education and inspiration you need for your real estate and mortgage businesses. Jake, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're actually going to be talking about planning your best year. Super important topic. A lot of people wondering what to do in 2023. We're going to talk about how to plan your best year, and there are absolutely no shortage of new opportunities out there.
That's true.
So we're going to jump right into it.
Cool. Planning your best year. It's a good time to do that because it is the beginning of the year. A lot of people, instead of planning at the end of the year last year, there's a lot of other stuff going on. Now here we are, beginning of January. You have your whole year ahead of you. So, what do we do? What's the first step, Jake?
So obviously the first step in being able to plan your best year is, setting goals. And there is a lot of power in goal setting. And so I'd love, Joe, if you could maybe talk to us a little bit about what does that look like? What really is the power in setting goals and goal setting?
So look, 80% of people don't actually set goals, right? 80%.
I know, that's crazy.
That's the vast majority of people. And I have some stats here. I got to use my notes here, but it says 14% have a plan in mind, but not written down. So only 14%, that's like a super minority, actually have plans, but they're not written down. Yeah. The 14% with goals, the 14% that have their goals in mind are 10 times more successful than the 80% without goals. Now, just think about that stat for a second. The 14% that have a plan in mind, they just thought about a plan. They have goals set.
Yeah.
They're 10 times more successful than those who don't.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. So you're like, well, geez, Joe, maybe I should set some goals. Yes, you should set some goals. Now, here's something even more powerful. Only 3% of people have goals actually written down. So they have the goals written down. They have the goals in mind and they have them written down. And those people are 3 times more successful than the people that have goals that don't write them down, that are 10 times more successful than the 80% that don't. So what does that tell you?
Write your stuff down.
Have a goal and write it down.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy too. And they talk about the, the 80-20 rule and all this stuff. But I mean, it is so simple, but it just blows my mind, like how few people actually really follow that. And just, if you can just do something as simple as just writing down your goals, it is proven to make you so much more successful. Yes,
agreed. So the first thing you have to do in planning for a successful year, number one, is have goals. Think about your goals and write them down. But goals have to be smart. They have to be, I like the acronym SMART. They have to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Let me give you an example of a goal that's not smart. Saying, I want to increase my business this year. Is that a smart goal?
I mean, no.
It's not specific. You didn't tell them how much you want to increase your business by.
Yeah.
It's not measurable. I don't know what more is. I want to do more business this year. I don't know what more is if you say I want to increase my business. I can't measure that. Is it attainable? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows if it's attainable? Is it realistic? Sure, it's realistic to do more business. Is it timely this year? So yeah, it's timely, but it's not specific. It's not measurable. And those two things really are what people leave out, right? A lot of people's plan for the year is, I just need to do more business than I did last year, not realizing that they have no idea whether they hit their goals or not. Do you like to celebrate?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay, well, me too. But how do you know? It's like bowling and someone covers up the pins and they say, go ahead and bowl, and you have no idea how many pins you knocked down. That doesn't sound like a very fun game. So keeping score.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, a part of being able to have those SMART goals, even just to take a step, maybe even a little bit behind that, is just even understanding why it is that you even want to do what you want to do. Because if you don't have that motivation, you can't really do it. And so, why is it so important to know your why and to have that just ingrained in you?
Well, so look, you have to know your why. I think that's what you're getting at. If you have no idea why you get out of bed in the morning to do the things you do, to do the grind, well, you're going to give up after a while. And let me give you a really easy example. You can tell yourself, I need to go to the gym every single day.
Yeah.
Right? I need to go to the gym. Well, we've all been there at some point. Or I need to eat healthier. And then so you'll do it for a while. You'll get out of bed. The alarm clock will get you out of bed.
Yeah.
You'll get up and you'll throw your clothes on. You'll go to the gym. And you can do that for a little while. You can make your body do things that you may or may not want to do. And you'll do it for a little while. But again, eventually you'll give up.
Yeah.
And I say, because your why wasn't strong enough, so if your why is strong enough, let's say I want to get in shape to go, for me, it'd be going on a surf trip where I've got to surf for 6 days in a row. I get to surf for 6 days in a row. I want to maximize that trip. I want to be in the best shape I can when I get there so I can surf all 6 days, right? Well, that gets me up to go to the gym to get fit. My body will do that. And then I get to go on my trip and I perform as I would like to perform.
Yeah.
Right. So same thing in real estate and in mortgages. You got to know why you're doing what you do. Why do you because it can be challenging and taxing, as we all know. And if you don't have a good reason to get up out of bed and to make those phone calls and to follow up with clients, past clients, do your marketing and do all the things, you got to listen to these podcasts to grow. By the way, if you're not a subscriber, I think you should subscribe, right? And share it with your friends, please. But if you listen to these podcasts, why do you do all these things? You have to have a strong why.
Yeah, definitely. You really do. And, with that why and, smart goals and, everything with what that entails, I think just knowing your numbers and knowing the details of specifically what you're doing is such a huge aspect of, being able to push through to that next step. And so with just specifically knowing your numbers, can you maybe just speak into a little bit about what that looks like and why is it so important to know your numbers and to know your stats?
Well, look, again, going back to the measurable piece, if you can't measure what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
So I always tell people to start with the end in mind. So this year I'm going to make up some numbers. If these aren't your numbers, fine. If yours are below or above this, great, awesome. But let's just say I'm really shooting for $10 million in real estate this year. Now, $10 million, how are you going to get that $10 million?
Yeah.
Right? How are you going to get $10 million in closed real estate transactions this year? What are the things that you do? How often do you have to do them? What do you have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis to get to that $10 million? And you work yourself backwards. In order to do $10 million, let's just say, I'm going to make up some numbers for easy math because I'm not good at public math, but let's say 10 million, my average transaction size is $500,000. That means I got to do 20 transactions this year, right? And for every 20 transactions I have two or three that fall out because of inspections or appraisals or financing, God forbid, because they didn't use Morgan Financial, things like that.
That is true.
So if you have to, so I want to close 20 transactions. Well, that means I got to put 23 transactions in. That means I have to go on this many listing appointments, this many buyers appointments, and I have to follow up with this many people. So work backwards, but work the numbers. Know your numbers, right? The more you know your numbers, the better you can do that math.
Yeah.
And then you can keep track of yourself. Am I on track towards hitting my goal or am I not on track?
Yeah, 100%. And especially as, you're working to be able to hit those goals. I know I love what you said about knowing the why, about how there is adversity and there are difficulties. There's a phrase people say, life's a marathon, not a sprint. But obviously sometimes you got to sprint, sometimes you have to jog. Why don't you speak a little bit into that difference and, what does it look like? Do you have to be running full speed all the time? When do you press and really go full out? And when do you kind of take it easy or do you ever take it easy? What does that look like?
That's tough. That's going to be up to the individual. But, the question is, are you sprinting the whole time? Well, it depends on what your goals are, right? And your natural ability, right? Everyone's not good at everything. If you set your goal way high, but your ability is not quite as high as your goal, you're going to be sprinting the whole year. If you did 1 million in transactions this year and your goal is to do 10 this year, 10 million, that you might have to sprint the whole year, right? But if you did, let's say 2 million last year and you're shooting for 2.5 million this year or 3 million, your percentage growth isn't nearly as high as 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And it's also your natural ability. You might be sprinting because you don't know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're still learning. This is why we all listen to podcasts. This is why we read books. This is why we go to class constantly as adults as we try to increase our efficiency, our ability, our knowledge. So to go back and answer your question, the speed is you have to look at those numbers. And if you're on the right path at the speed you're going, you're at the right speed. If you check your numbers and you're on track for today, which puts you on track for the week, which puts you on track for the month, which puts you on track for the quarter, does it put you on track for the year? Every day you need to be looking and analyzing this thing. Am I not doing enough or am I doing too much? And you can adjust as needed as you go.
No, that's so good. And, you know, really, it's such a simple thing to do, but it's a little bit more difficult to put into practice. But obviously, you know, that's why we're here. And so, you know, obviously just going over all this different stuff, Joe, you know, if you could just, for maybe a new real estate agent, maybe someone that's watching who is looking to be able to take that next step and looking to be able to move to that next place this year, you know, if you had one piece of advice or a main takeaway for that person to really plan their best year, what would that be?
Planning, the best advice I can say for planning your best year is, look, there's a lot of people around you that have done it before.
Yeah.
Ask them questions. What did you do? What made you successful? And then put that together with your plan. But really,
that's good.
You know, that's just one, you know, get advice from mentors and people around you of what they did. Now, that might not work for you, but really the single best piece of advice I can give to people is know your numbers, know which activities get you your result, and figure out how to put that into a daily and weekly scorecard or score sheet so you can keep track of these numbers. And look, you might keep track of these numbers and find out that what you thought was working isn't. And the things that you didn't know were working are, and you can adjust accordingly. But keep track, keep a record, because you can always go back and look to see what happened. You know, I have years of data to suggest that certain times a year, certain things happen, and I can track to see if we're on line to hit those events. But you won't have that unless you have your numbers. You can use mine, but it won't really help you. You need to use your numbers. So know your numbers. Plan out your numbers. Work with the end in mind. Work backwards to figure out what you need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis.
Yeah, that's great. And, you know, I love what we say oftentimes around here is there's no way to be able to tell if you're winning if you don't keep score, you know? And so you have to have those numbers and know it. And I think that is, you know, from a seasoned veteran over here, that's a really, really good piece of advice.
Good. Thank you.
Well, that's about everything that we have here for the questions. You know, it's been awesome just getting to hear a little bit of, you know, obviously, Joe, your mortgage wisdom and your experience. And so we appreciate you obviously pouring into us and sharing some of this knowledge. And yeah, it's been awesome to be able to kind of hear some things about planning your best year.
Well, thanks, Jake. Thanks for being on with me today. Listen, if you found value in this, please forward it or share it with someone that you think might also find value in it. And also, let us know down below in the comments. What did you like? What didn't you like? Share it. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It'll come to your inbox automatically. That's all I got. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.